Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Phumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. SABC Network. Now that's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's News Network at sabc.co.za on email. This week our Twitter poll is asking you about those African innovations that you love more than others. I bet you didn't know that Africa has invented quite a lot in technology. This as we observe the last bits of Africa Month. It was Africa Day just 2 days ago. Results of that poll are coming up later in the program. Here's what's coming up in this particular episode. Google has a new tool that's going to help in disaster situations. And in our conversation, we chat about 45 years of the biggest marketing and advertising awards, that is the Loeries, and how the digital space has helped the African digital ecosystem tell the story of Africa through marketing. As we were observing Africa Day a couple of days ago, let's find out how the continent is celebrating this day through technology.
Africa is home to 1.2 billion people, but only around 570 million of them are internet users, according to Statista. Despite this, the figure is double what it was in 2015. The increase means Africans can be creative online.
I was lucky enough. I do not have an agent when it comes to acting. I don't have an agent. I'm independent. I'm an independent actor. So my TikTok really helped me a lot in terms of attracting or casting director to offer me jobs. Okay, for example, hostel, I got it through my TikTok because I got a message from casting director.
But while some in Africa see the increase in internet availability as a positive, there are those who see it as a threat. Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt and Uganda are some of the countries that have previously shut down the internet or parts of it in recent times.
The question would ask that, is there a misuse of computer in Uganda? Where the answer is yes. Should that misuse be allowed? The answer is no. Is there room for regulation of how computers and our phones are used? The answer is yes. But I think there is a complete misinterpretation, deliberate or otherwise, by some of you, the media, and the other activists and civil society, just trying to vulgarize the law when the law is actually brought in good faith. Because the Computer Misuse Act has been there since 2011.
A report by Top 10 VPN says Ethiopia has lost hundreds of millions of dollars in an internet shutdown that's concentrated in Tigray, a region that's had conflict since 2020. But most governments in Africa do see value in allowing their citizens to connect and use digital tools freely.
So when we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution and all these nice terms, it's not abstract. There's actually programs and activities edging us closer to making those a reality. And that's really what we're doing at the moment. I can say that the biggest project right now, and especially that I'm personally championing in my office, is around digital literacy and skills, particularly for young people.
In countries where there is internet access in Africa, e-commerce can thrive.
South Africa is in a great time for businesses to actually launch, but the most difficult thing is the infrastructure. It's the infrastructure. We're in a time and an era of tech being advanced. We're in a time and an era where innovation is what is needed. But it's the biggest problem, it's the infrastructure. We do not have the right infrastructure to run our business successfully.
And when there's internet access, children can get online early so they can be part of the international digital ecosystem.
Putting the girl child in the tech environment, it's a very exciting and a good initiative as well, so that we empower the girl learners so that they can see that their role is not only limited to other professions. They need to go to the tech space as the world is moving into a 4IR.
While the journey to connect Africans seems to have been slow, the African Union and the World Bank Group say they want to connect everyone by the year 2030.
Technology plays a critical role in helping us when we're stuck in disaster situations. You'll remember that it also helped when people were stuck with the flooding that happened in parts of KwaZulu-Natal in the year 2022. Now, Google has launched a new tool that has now expanded to the African continent that's going to help people in disaster areas.
Natural disasters like flooding are increasing in frequency due to climate change, threatening people's safety and livelihoods. Every year, they are responsible for thousands of fatalities and hundreds of millions of displaced homeowners.
Well, they're costing in the regions of millions to billions because when we looked at all natural disasters or weather disasters, according to insurance figures, it's up to 2.7 billion rands, and that's just South Africa. Globally, these floods are much more impactful. They're causing way more disasters, and it's very bad.
As floods take a greater toll on aging infrastructure, tech companies are rolling out technology platforms equal to the magnitude of the challenge.
So the general trend now is AI. Everyone is talking AI, artificial intelligence, and well, fortunately, it has come to the weather space. And in the weather space, it is helping us in a sense that, for instance, Google is developing a flood forecasting model, where they're using satellite data to forecast floods when they'll be. I looked at some of their research. It is somewhat similar to what we are doing as well, but not the same. For instance, they're using machine learning, they're using deep learning. These emerging technologies are coming with something different, with a neural learning network. They're learning the weather as it happens, and they're forecasting it as it happens. One of the things that's great about it, for instance, is the spatial resolution. It's much better than we have. It's at a 1 kilometer resolution. Secondly is the time resolution. They can give you what's happening more timelessly, for instance, at 2-hour intervals, whereas current weather models are giving you either 3 hours or 6-hourly intervals. So
Google says it is leveraging its ability in AI to launch Flood Hub, a flood forecasting platform that can alert people of coming floods.
Well, we know that natural disasters are increasing in frequency and intensity due to climate change, which is something that's quite prominent and sort of visible to us in our everyday lives. So as part of our crisis response efforts, we worked with trusted information to people during critical moments to keep them safe and informed. And so to do so, we rely on research and develop our own AI-powered technologies and long-standing partnerships with frontline emergency workers and organizations.
The platform uses a range of resources, including AI and weather forecasts, to determine which areas are at risk of flooding.
Machine learning was our sort of technology that we have, that will then collate this information in sort of weather patterns using traditional sources of weather, open data sources as we call them. So that will be the weather forecast, as well as studying of the terrain in sort of different geographies in all the countries that we've now sort of launched, reaching up to 460 million people. And what happens then is we put this together, our teams look at this data, put it together, and then wherever they see that there will be a flood, they will then send out alerts to the people in that area using our sort of platforms such as Search, Maps, as well as Android users.
During the floods that hit KZN last year, individuals searched for ways to let their friends and family know that they are safe from the storms. The feature is part of the crisis response page Facebook developed to help people quickly stay in the know about the world disasters.
When we partner with local NGOs with this, you would know that the Red Cross is a partner in this, and through our google.org, which is our sort of social outreach division within Google, partners with NGOs, and then they would be able to sort of tell them and send them these alerts directly to those NGOs. The NGOs themselves would then be operating in those communities that are most vulnerable, so that even if someone doesn't have a cell phone, they'll be able to receive the message from the NGO that this is expected to happen within the next 7 days. This is how we'll then deal with it, and then government as well is able then to interact and say that these are the type of interventions we should be able to prepare for as we expect this flooding to come. And yeah, that's how it would work.
Google is working with governments and NGOs in this initiative. The Flood Hub platform has been available in several African countries, including Angola, Ghana, and South Africa, and now, with the expansion, it encompasses 60 additional countries.
It is the SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram News Network at SABC.co.za on email. After the break, we chat about how digital spaces have helped tell the African story through marketing and advertising. SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram News Network at SABC.co.za on email. Welcome back. Now, Africa's stories have changed over the years, and there's a role that's been played by digital platforms in order to change the story and the narrative that goes out about the African continent. In the past, that story would largely have not been told by Africans themselves within the continent, but part of that African narrative has been shifted by the changes that have also happened because of digital platforms in the advertising and marketing space. And these are cognizant in the stories that are going to be told as well by the Loeries this year. And joining me to discuss 45 years of the Loeries and the digital influence in that as well is Loeries CEO Pritesh Suraj. Hello, and thank you very much for being a part of our network, Pritesh. Maybe we can start by explaining what's going to be happening this year to observe that 45 years of the Loeries.
Yeah, I think it's quite an iconic year for us because we've been around for 45 years, started in 1978. And so what we're doing is we've got an entire year planned of celebrating 45 years of the Loeries. And this takes a number of different things. We had a few gatherings that have happened across Africa and the Middle East. And then ultimately all is going to culminate to Loeries Creative Week, which is happening in Cape Town from the 2nd to the 6th of October.
Digital platforms are now a huge part of how marketing and advertising is done. How do they contribute to the changes?
Yeah, I think one of the things is advertising always reflects culture, right? And it reflects the environment and the people who are making it. And I think one of the things you've seen, if you look at specifically at South African content, and you've seen that reflection of where it really is more reflective truly of the culture of South Africa and the people of South Africa. That's the change that has actually happened. Across the African continent, if you're looking at it, this culture has obviously been shown reflective of the way people are navigating a new world, emergence of digital, the technology that's out there. But ultimately, as I said, it's always rooted in the culture and the environment and the lived experience of the people across the African continent.
Social media creatives have become a big component of advertising, marketing, and telling of stories. Their involvement?
We celebrate the best in innovation in terms of brand communication, creative excellence. So if we're celebrating innovation, we also have to ensure that this is reflective in the work that we celebrate and the work that we award. So right now, if you look at it, you've got this huge emergence of artificial intelligence that's been incorporated into it. You've got the metaverse and extended reality, which includes augmented reality, which again is finding its way across Africa and the Middle East and the work that's been created for the people of our region. So therefore, if it's been created in this way, we ensure that there's the appropriate categories that this can be entered into, and ultimately that when we award the work, it's awarded with this lens that says, is this really great examples in the digital landscape?
You mentioned artificial intelligence. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think the narrative first, the story of AI is going to find its way across advertising before AI itself actually does, where people are incorporating it into the narrative, into the drama of the ads itself, and being able to say, hey, AI is influencing things. That's the first level because it's the low-hanging fruit. But really what's actually happening as well is there's been discussions in terms of using and utilizing AI to enhance the copywriting process in terms of the words that's actually happening. Secondly, in terms of enhancing the design process. I had somebody today ask me how we would actually judge work that had some sort of AI aspect to it. So already these are some of the considerations that we as Loeries are having to think about as well, not just from a narrative and story perspective, but as AI starts creeping into the work, how do we judge it and how do we actually see it influencing the level of creativity that's coming out of our region?
You've been crisscrossing across Africa and the Middle East. Are you finding good stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I think evolution is always happening in terms of the way we communicate with each other and in this changing environment itself. So because of that, we tend to find that the levels at which we're trying to innovate in terms of communication is being pushed. So I'm always excited every year. I'm always amazed every year. And I have no doubt that the work that's going to win and come out of this is stuff that's going to amaze all of us. So I'm really looking forward to that.
All right, Pritesh Suraj, thank you very much for being a part of our network. Pritesh Suraj there is the CEO of the Loeries. That's Africa's biggest marketing and advertising awards. That's in Africa and the Middle East, that is. SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It is News Network at sabc.co.za, and email. Stay with us. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za. On email, here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
China says a major U.S. chip maker, Micron Technology, failed a review and posed a national security risk. It announced that it was banning them from being used in key infrastructure projects. The move appears to be an escalation of tension over technology and trade between Beijing and Washington. It follows a weeks-long review into Micron by China's cyberspace regulator, and it could affect everything from transport to telecoms to finance. And now in Italy. Fabrizio Fidati, who lost his right hand in an accident 25 years ago, had not experienced warmth or cold in his missing limb until trials for a bionic technology sparked hope he could one day feel warmth in his prosthetic hand.
Temperature has been extremely elusive to restore because physiologically it's very complicated to restore. So we did something else with touch, with position information, but temperature is really was the next step. And we found two interesting things. First, that in most of the amputees, by providing the information at the residuum, so at the level of the amputation, they feel the temperature, so the heating or cooling happening at the phantom hand. This is really interesting, and we are the first providing strong evidence of this. And second, even more interestingly from a functional viewpoint, is that you can use this information in real time and the patient can feel that the temperature is changing at the fingers and they can use it functionally with the prosthesis.
The technology, which has been tested for more than 2 years, does not need to be implanted. It can be worn on the skin and combined with a regular prosthetic hand. And now in the UK. Pupils at Redham House School in Berkshire, England are using VR headsets to enter the metaverse for a variety of interactive lessons, from getting up close and personal with a woolly mammoth to manipulating the planets of the solar system.
The retention is fantastic. Once they've seen something, they'll remember it. And there's a deeper understanding because they can manipulate an object, they can see it from all sides, they can see how it works, they can see the function. And so they really get a deeper, better understanding.
Subjects including science, history, art, and geography are all brought to life with students working together in VR.
This week, our Twitter poll is asking you about a few African inventions that have happened in the technology space. There have been innovations that would include M-Pesa. There's been a few technologies that have helped people communicate as well. As well as that Please Call Me service. What's your favorite? Technology has definitely changed the story of Africa. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It is News Network at sabc.co.za. On email from me, it's Pumela Lezondi and the rest of the team. Have a good one. Bye-bye.